Has it started? Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about Jallikattu in the state of Tamil Nadu. And based on the editorial, you're going to consolidate your grammar knowledge, you're going to improve your reading comprehension skill, you're going to enrich your word power. Besides, here and there, you're going to get enriched in terms of effective English. Now, let us go to editorial vocabulary. Not too many words, but a few important words are there. Thank you for responding. Uphold. This is a legal term we have got many a time, and you come across this quite often. Uphold, part of speech verb. To say that a decision that has already been made, especially a legal one, is correct. A decision has been made and someone upholds that decision, that means they say it is correct and valid. As I said, it is a legal term. Inflict. This editorial is all about inflict related to animals being caused. I'll tell the meaning, then I'll talk about that. Inflict, part of speech verb. Usually it takes the word inflict pain, inflict trouble, typical combinations to force someone to experience something very unpleasant. So that they get disturbed, they experience the pain. Usually we say don't inflict pain on someone. Imprimatur. This we have got for the first time, part of speech noun. That means it is an important word. Official permission to do something given by an official or a group of people. Upsurge, an important word, part of speech noun. But we got the word surge many a time. Surge means what? Sudden forward movement or sudden increase. Usually it goes with the water bodies, waves, and we got this word many a time during the time of COVID. Sudden increase in number of cases, surge. But upsurge, in a way related to that, a sudden and usually large increase. Rigors is also an important word. Part of speech noun. The fact that people are made to follow rules in a very severe or strict way. Rigors of the exercise, rigors of the punishment. It goes with exercises, punishment. All these words are combination words. Raging bulls in the context. Rage, part of speech noun, it could be a verb, but raging, adjective. Very strong or violent. In the context of the editorial, raging bulls means very violent. Not exactly strong, they are strong, of course, but violent, aggressive. Proponent, part of speech noun, a person who speaks publicly in support of a particular idea or plan of action. Someone tries to support a particular cause, then we say a proponent of that particular cause. Advocate also, you can think of the word. Advocate can be a verb, can be a noun. Contend, to say that something is true or is a fact. That is one meaning. Another meaning of contend, to compete. But based on the editorial, the context, to say that something is true or is a fact. Anchor, typically a noun, it goes with ships. You all know that. But here it has been used as a verb. As a verb to make something or someone stay in one position by fastening him, her, or it firmly. To be in a firm position, that's what it means. Prevalent, another important word, part of speech adjective. Existing very commonly or happening often. Something exists commonly or happens often, prevalent situation. A particular disease is prevalent. Embark usually goes with journey, to go onto a ship, aircraft, or train, or to load, to make things, to load things or make people enter a ship, aircraft, or train. Embark on a journey, embark on an expedition. These are the combinations you have to think of. Defer, D-I-F-F-E-R, but defer verb, to delay something until a later time. You can also think of the word postpone. Interdict we have got for the first time. Any word you get for the first time, you got to be alert, spend some time after the session, make your own examples. An official instruction from a law court telling someone that they are not allowed to do something. It is like stopping someone from doing something. Hazard is a common word. When you read the newspapers, you come across quite often. Part of speech noun. What does it mean? Something that is dangerous and likely to cause damage. Hazardous material. Postpone is the right word. Now let us go to the editorial. Whenever you come across an editorial, from today onwards, we'll try to practice that. You have to ask a few basic questions. What is this about? It is about Jallikattu. And why is it in the limelight? If you take this Jallikattu, a practice, a traditional practice that belongs to the state of Tamil Nadu, it has been in the limelight in the recent past. Then the question, why has it been in the limelight? Though it has been a traditional practice in the modern times, animal rights groups they started objecting because this Jallikattu inflicts pain on the animals. Based on that, there are two groups. One, animal rights groups, they want this to be stopped. On the other hand, the proponents of this, those who want it to be continued, because it is part of the tradition, part of culture. Based on that, it has gone to the court, initially lower court, then the Supreme Court verdict now, eventually, the final verdict. So, what is the verdict of the Supreme Court in favor of Jallikattu? Upholds cultural sentiment. It respects cultural sentiment. Based on that, it has given the permission for the Tamil Nadu people to continue with the practice of Jallikattu, but with a few conditions. One condition, it should not inflict pain on the animals, one thing. Second, obviously, a lot of people gather, and there's every possibility they may run into the crowd, the spectators. So, spectators' safety is also very important. And how did this happen? Because of the legislative changes made in 2017 at the state level. Because of that, this has happened. This is the editorial in a nutshell, in brief. Now, how does it start? Judging Jallikattu. It's all about judging whether Jallikattu is can be accepted, cannot be accepted, should be continued, should not be continued. On the Supreme Court verdict, initially at the lower court, now the final, the Supreme Court and its verdict. But what is the main idea of this editorial? Supreme Court verdict upholds the verb. It is in present tense. Uphold means already someone has said something and you say that it is right. In a way, it is you're supporting, you're validating, you're justifying. Uphold. Upholds what? Cultural sentiment. As I said, this practice is it is part of culture, part of Tamil Nadu culture. So it respects Supreme Court verdict. Verdict means a judgment. Upholds cultural sentiment, but animal rights and human safety matter too. As I said, the judgment is in favor of Jallikattu, but there are two conditions. One, animal rights are important. A pain should not be inflicted, one thing. And second thing, human safety, it is also important, very important, in fact. A rural sport seen by courts for years as one inflicting cruelty on animals has now received judicial imprimatur. I'm not very sure about the pronunciation. We got to be a little careful. I don't think it should be a foreign word. That's what I feel. Here, the first sentence, a rural sport, it does not go with the urban areas. It is a rural sport seen by courts. Actually, courts see it as something. But in this context, a rural sport seen by courts. Here, seen, the verb, it is a non finite verb. A rural sport seen by courts for years as one inflicting cruelty. So, how did they see? How have they seen the courts, this particular rural sport? One sport, one inflicting cruelty on animals. Inflict means what? To force someone to experience pain on animals has now received. This is the main verb. Has now received what? Judicial imprimatur. Means what? Official permission to do something that is given by a person or group in a position of power. So it is the main idea, obviously. An upsurge. Why did this happen? An upsurge, an important word. Sudden increase in something. Upsurge means what? Sudden and usually large increase. An upsurge in popular support for Jallikattu. So a lot of support for Jallikattu. An upsurge in popular support for Jallikattu led to legislative changes in early 2017, exempting it from the rigors of the law against animal cruelty. So there was a lot of support for Jallikattu. Based on that, here the verb is in past. it led to legislative changes at the state level. When did this happen? Way back in 2017. And based on that, exempting it from, exempt someone from something means, imagine there's a law or there's a tax. Some people are exempted from the tax, some people are exempted from the law. Means the law is not applicable to them, the tax is not applicable to them. Usually it doesn't go with a tax, it goes with a law, a rule. Certain privileges exempt someone from something. So it takes a preposition from, exempting it from the rigors of the law against animal cruelty. Rigors of the law against animal cruelty. They must have made a few changes so that it could be exempted from the rigors, an important word. The fact that people are made to follow rules in a very strict or severe way. Rigors are what? The law against animal cruelty. Today there is a law against animal cruelty. That means we cannot inflict pain to on animals. So they tried to they made a few changes. Because of that, it was exempted. It was exempted from the rigors of the law against animal cruelty. 6 years after the amendments. So all this happened because of the changes at the state level, amendments. 6 years after the amendments ended a court-ordered ban, the Supreme Court has upheld the changes made by the Tamil Nadu Assembly as well as the cultural sentiment behind Jallikattu, a traditional sport in which men try to control raging bulls. A lengthy sentence from here to here. But what does it mean? 6 years after the amendments ended, a court ordered ban. Amendments means changes. These changes ended what? A court ordered ban. Lower level, the court ordered ban. That means Jallikattu was not allowed. But 6 years after the amendments, based on that, Tamil Nadu state government must have made a few changes. And 6 years after that, and here the situation talks about, the context talks about past to present. Then we should use present perfect tense. Based on that, the Supreme Court has upheld, this is in present perfect, uphold, upheld, upheld. The Supreme Court has upheld the changes made by the Tamil Nadu Assembly. They have accepted, as well as, not only that, as well as green important. When you come across expressions like, there are about 15, I cannot list out all of them, but important ones, as well as, along with, together with, all these words, the verb agrees with the past subject. Very good, Anusha, I appreciate that. The cultural sentiment behind Jallikattu, a traditional sport. This is a traditional sport in which, so what is a sport? What exactly happens in which men try to control raging bulls? So it is a sport where men, a few men, try to control raging bulls. So here, raging bulls, raging obviously adjective. It can be a verb, it can be a noun. What does it mean? Very strong and violent. Obviously, bulls are very strong. And imagine, on the other hand, or added to that, raging bulls, not easy to control. There is every possibility the person may get hurt. There has been an endless conflict. There has been, this is again in present perfect, but it is an important pattern. They have given many a time in different competitive exams. The reason being, a lot of students know the sentence pattern that goes with present perfect. What is the sentence pattern? Subject, have or has, plus verb, past participle form. Usually we say he has completed, she has come, they have gone. So main or action verb, easy to make out. But here, in place of main or action verb, the primary auxiliary be, past participle form, has been used. So that confuses students a little to some extent, so you got to be careful. She has been a student for 10 years. He has been a professor for 15 years. There has been an endless conflict, same pattern. There has been what? An endless conflict between. So why is this in the limelight? Usually an editorial, they need a stimulus. Something should happen that acts as a stimulus. They take that, and based on that, they come up with the editorial. So there has been an endless conflict between activists and proponents of the game. As I said, when I started the session, I said, you have to ask a few questions. What exactly is the problem? There are two groups. One, activists. Who are these activists? They are the people who fight for the animals' rights. On the other hand, against them, proponents, those who support the Jallikattu of the game. which culminated. We have got this recently, culminate to reach a particular stage where from there things start happening, or to reach the final stage, culminated in a 2014 court judgment banning the sport. Remember, the court banned in 2014. Subsequent to that, the Tamil Nadu state government made a few changes, and those changes, 6 years later, after those changes were made, 6 years after the amendments, the Supreme Court has given the judgment in favor of the game, Jallikattu. The activists argue. So usually what happens when we have two teams, here one activist, on the other hand proponents, each one takes a stance, each one has something to justify, so each one has an argument. The activists, those who support the animal rights, argue that any sport involving a physical contest between man and bull violates animal rights. So what do they say? Any fight here, Jallikattu is a contest between men and bulls. So they say any physical competition between man and bull violates. It is against animal rights. While the other camp, what about the proponents? What do they say? While the other camp contends to say that something is true or is a fact, other camp contends that none should stop something that is part of the state's tradition and culture. Their stance is no one should stop something that is part of the state's, Tamil Nadu states in this context, tradition and culture. So one has a stand that supports the animal rights, the other has a stand that supports the tradition and culture. And here you may wonder, you may think why the word none is in green. None is a pronoun, and if you ask which type of pronoun, it is indefinite pronoun. Indefinite pronouns are none, one, someone, somebody, something, no one, nobody, everyone. So none and one, these two are very important. We have one somewhere. There are two rules. None usually takes a plural verb, but none if it is followed by a phrase like of the students, of the boys, of the girls, of the employees, then it takes a singular verb. That particular aspect they have touched many a time in different competitive exams. The state government. So based on this, the problem or the conflict, the state government has intervened. The state government responded to the ban. Some people wanted it, some people didn't want it, and the court banned in 2014. Based on that, the state government responded to the ban by amending. They had to make some changes. Amend means to make changes in the, usually it goes with, it's a legal term. The Central Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, in its application to the state, and obtained the president's assent. Assent means approval. That's an important word. I should have brought it in red. So they made a few changes and they obtained the president's assent. A constitution bench of the Supreme Court has now settled the issue, has now settled present perfect. So recent action. To express recently completed actions, we use present perfect. A constitution bench of the Supreme Court has now settled the issue, ruling in favor of Jallikattu as a cultural event. So why have they ruled in favor of Jallikattu? Because they considered it a cultural event. Obviously, one has to respect culture and traditions. The verdict, the judgment of the five-judge bench is anchored to two key findings. Anchored means firmly rooted to two key findings. What are the two key findings? One, that the fresh regulations minimize the game's potential for cruelty and pain formed the basis for the 2014 judgment. In 2014, the lower court banned the Jallikattu. What was the reason? What was the rationale? Because the court felt it inflicts pain. So, but now changes have been made. Based on that, the Supreme Court, the five-judge bench has thought the fresh regulations after the changes minimize the game's potential for cruelty. They minimize the game's potential for cruelty and pain, and which formed the basis for the 2014 judgment. So now that time that was the reason, because of the changes that has reduced the potential, minimize the potential for cruelty and pain on animals. So no problem, they can allow. Those conditions were no more prevalent. Those conditions inflicting pain and causing cruelty or pain to the animals, those conditions were no more prevalent. They don't exist anymore. Here, prevalent to exist, existing very commonly or happening often. Here we can also say were no more, no longer prevalent. Another standard phrase we use. First reason. Second, the court has accepted present perfect tense. The legislature's view that Jallikattu is a sport conducted every year to follow tradition and culture. The second, first dimension, now those conditions of inflicting pain, they don't exist, they are not prevalent. So we can allow that. Second thing, they have accepted the legislature's view. What is that view? Jallikattu is a sport conducted every year to follow tradition and culture. It is part of culture. So one has to respect a particular culture, a particular tradition. These are the two factors. It has accepted the legislature's wisdom on what constitutes cultural heritage. So legislature's wisdom, it has accepted what comes under, what constitutes, what forms cultural heritage, holding that the court cannot embark on such an inquiry. The legislature has decided Jallikattu is part of cultural heritage. So court cannot go deep into that and question whether it is a cultural heritage or not. Holding that the court cannot embark, take up a journey on such an inquiry. Embark usually goes with journey to go onto a ship, aircraft, or train, but here, journey to find out whether it is part of culture or not, whether it is a cultural heritage or not. That is not the job of the court. However, there is a condition. The verdict in favor of Jallikattu, but there is a condition. What is that condition? However, contrasting information. It does not mean present tense negative form. It doesn't mean the court has in any way diluted the part of the earlier bench's verdict. It has not diluted the verdict of the earlier bench's verdict. It did not dilute. Reading into Indian law the full import of international rules in favor of animal rights. Animal rights are important. That's what the lower court said. And Supreme Court also, it did not dilute that particular dimension. Rather, it has deferred to the cultural sentiment. So it has, again, it is in present perfect. Defer means what? To delay something until a later time. To the cultural sentiment underlying the legislative scheme by which sports such as Jallikattu, Kambala, a buffalo race in Karnataka, and bullock cart racing in Maharashtra are not interdicted by the law preventing animal cruelty. We have got this word for the first time. Interdict means what? An official instruction from a law court telling someone that they are not allowed to do something, stopping someone from doing something by the law preventing animal cruelty. This means, how does the editorial end? This means organizers as well as the respective governments still bear the burden. So what does it mean? It means there are two parties here, organizers, three rather, organizers and state governments, or respective governments, and also those who are in support of the animal rights. This means organizers as well as the respective governments still bear the burden. These two parties bear the burden. Bear the burden means to have the responsibility to face something that is painful or unpleasant, still bear the burden to prevent infliction of pain and cruelty on animals. So it is their responsibility to prevent infliction of pain and cruelty on animals. These sports also pose, there's another dimension. These sports also pose an undeniable hazard. Deny means to say no. Undeniable, no one can say no. These sports also pose an undeniable hazard, danger to humans too. This is a second dimension, to the participants mainly, but sometimes to spectators too. So there are some participants, they fight with the raging bulls, one thing, and a lot of spectators. So there's a possibility, undeniable hazard to humans too. And there are two parties, one, the participants, the other, spectators. It may be time for organizers to mandate protective gear. Based on this potential hazard, what is the solution? It may be time for organizers to mandate protective gear. Mandate means to make something compulsory. So they have to make protective gear compulsory for the participants. Those who participate in Jallikattu, they have to wear protective gear. So it should be made mandatory. That is the idea. And strictly enforce rules for proper barricades to keep spectators safe. When it comes to participant safety, it should be made mandatory. What? Protective gear. When it comes to the safety of the spectators, They have to enforce strictly. They have to strictly enforce rules for proper barricades. When proper barricades are there, the bulls cannot break the barricades and go into the crowds. So in a way, spectators are safe. The last sentence, what does it talk about? Cultural assertion. This is an important word we have got many a time. Today, in fact, a lot of words I haven't brought in red because we have got many a time. Assertive, assert, to be firm and say something you want to say or do something that you want to do. Assertive nature is very important at the workplace. So, cultural assertion, being firm when it comes to culture and traditions, and kindness to animals and adherence to safety norms. There are three dimensions now. One is a cultural assertion, the supreme in this context. Kindness to animals has to be considered. And the third one, safety, adherence to safety norms. Adhere, stick to. Need not be mutually exclusive. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. They can take a holistic approach and make sure all the three things are considered and things go smoothly. That's all about the editorial. Now, let us go to questions based on this editorial comprehension point of view. First one, what is this editorial about? You should write in brief, not that difficult. What has now received judicial imprimatur? I'm not, to be very frank, I haven't checked the pronunciation. Please check the pronunciation of this particular word. I was no time, lack of time, but I should have done it. Anyhow, I strongly suggest, recommend, please check the pronunciation of that particular word. Somewhere I feel it may not be what I have said because it's a foreign word. What led, if not tomorrow, I will tell you, that's not a big deal. What led to legislative changes in early 2017 in the context of the editorial? Always look at the key words, easy to answer. What culminated in a 2014 court judgment banning the sport? Again, easy to answer based on keywords. Who still bear the burden? Actually, I should have. Who still bears the burden to prevent infliction of pain and cruelty on animals? Someone bears the burden. Who is that? You have to answer. Now, let us go to words you got on Saturday. These words we got from the editorial on Saturday. See to what extent you remember. Write the part of speech, write the meaning. Then I've got something very important to tell you guys. First, you do this, then I will talk about an important announcement. Elite, part of speech, it could be a noun, it could be an adjective, both. So, what does it mean, elite? No one has responded. 1C, the richest, most powerful. That is right. Heft, part of speech, noun. What does it mean? The influence that someone has, the influence, the power someone can wield or someone has. Answer is F. Very good. Sanctions, obviously noun. It can be a verb as well. Sanction the funds. That's a positive meaning. As a noun, sanctions against a particular country, that has a negative connotation. So what does it mean? No, no, two, it is not D. Two is F. Please go to the third one. H. Official order such as imposing ban related to trade ban against a particular country. I'm sorry. So what is the answer? Official order such as banning trade with a particular country. Answer is H. Very good. Impose, part of speech verb. It goes with taxes. It goes with rules. J, to officially force a rule or tax. Very good. Tussle, part of speech noun. What does it mean? Tussle. Elite already over. Tussle means to have difficult disagreement. G is the answer. Severe argument, disagreement. Yes. Spearhead, part of speech verb, an important word. Spearhead a campaign, a movement, a procession, or uh, an attack, any of these. To lead something. Perfect. Do remember important words. Proliferation, noun form, proliferate verb. What does it mean? To increase a lot suddenly. Mushroom growth, we also say mushroom growth. Proliferation of so many institutes. Mushroom growth of so many institutes. You can also think of that. Answer is D, proliferate. Have you answered the seventh one? Someone has gone to the ninth one, eighth one. Yes. Restraint, restrain verb, restraint noun means what? Calm and controlled behavior. Answer is I. Devastate someone or something. Devastating impact means what? Part of speech verb. To destroy completely. Answer is B. Someone stands out or something stands out. It is a phrasal verb. What does it mean? What are you left with? To be very noticeable, to be obvious. Answer is E. Now, all of you listen to me. Uh, don't leave. Be here. Listen to me carefully. I have been bringing editorial analysis, vocabulary, comprehension questions, and words and meanings. Along all these go with the editorial. Along with these, it has been a practice to bring practice questions based on exam topics. But from today, I'm not going to bring practice questions based on exam topics. I will bring questions based on the editorial. I may add some more questions based on the editorial, but you may ask why. I'm going to start new batches, and today I'm going to tell you guys, but tomorrow I'll provide the slide. In the morning, it is going to be at 7, the Hindu Editorial in English live session, all about you can enrich your grammar, consolidate your grammar, enrich your vocabulary, improve your reading comprehension skill, and also learn here and there whatever goes with effective English. In the evening at 5 p.m., I am going to start grammar concepts. These are free. I will start with nouns every evening at 5, YouTube. Alternate days, not every day, alternate days. And 5 p.m. the next day, in my app related to that particular topic, you will have an exercise, topic wise exercises. Imagine tomorrow I teach noun, and day after tomorrow, you have to work on an exercise related to noun, and that again free in my app, not on YouTube. Then every evening at 6, recently I've started a new paid batch, foundation course for all competitive exams. That is at 6 p.m. That is again in my app. In the evening, 7:30 p.m. Again, YouTube, free practice batches I'm going to start. So I'm stopping here, practice questions. I'm going to bring over there, evening 7:30 p.m. And there are 3 batches, grammar practice batch, vocabulary practice batch, and reading comprehension practice batch, evening 7:30 on YouTube. So today I've just said all these changes, and tomorrow I'll provide the slide. From tomorrow, the schedule is going to be there. So you can have free classes on YouTube, 5 p.m. grammar concepts and 7:30 practice batches. And in the app, you can work on the exercise, 5 p.m. app, and alternate days, you can work on the exercise. And also, if you take 5 p.m., not only that, actually, you may work on the exercise in the app at 6 p.m. 5 p.m. vocabulary batch is there, exam topics. Like every day, I'll bring idioms, phrasal verbs, one word substitutes, all these. For these, you don't have to pay. All that you have to do, download the app, and whenever there is a free session, you will get the notification will be there, and you have to join the class. That's it. That's all for today. Thanks for being with me till the fag end of the session. Do remember to subscribe and share. Have a nice day. I will see you guys in the evening. But today 5 p.m. there's no session. I may start 7:30. If not, from tomorrow the schedule is going to be implemented strictly, and you'll get more details